Hey guys, Jeff here with the first episode of From Scratch. First episode, I'm going to show you how to make one of these little farm pots. They're quick and simple to make and they look great on the tabletop, so if you want to see how I made this, stick around and watch the rest of the video. These are the tools which you'll need to make the farm plot. So you'll need a pen, an old paintbrush, a hobby knife, clippers, a pair of scissors, a hot glue gun. You didn't need a hot glue gun, but I think this is the best way to glue things in a hurry. This isn't really a tool, but PVA glue, it's pretty much always good for any terrain project, and a ruler. So step one is pretty easy and straightforward. So you take your base and measure it if you don't already know how big it is. Mine's 20 centimeters by 10 centimeters. You can base it on pretty much any material you want. MDF is, a lot of people use that, and you could use cardboard. I don't recommend using cardboard for bases because glue can warp it. I use this plasticard. It's relatively inexpensive, and I've got the 0.5mm type, so it's relatively inexpensive. It's really thin, so your terrain doesn't stick up off the board too much, and it's durable. And it's pretty easy to cut too, because this is plasticard. You just score it with a knife and snap it pretty much. And all my terrain I'm working on is going to be modular, and so I want all the bases to be a uniform height, and I'm using uniform dimensions as well, so lots of 5 centimeters, 10 centimeters, etc. Yeah, so this is 20 by 5, but if you don't know how big your base is, measure it. And you get a piece of cardboard. It's got to be this corrugated cardboard. I don't know how it's going to show up on the camera because the light's right next to it, it's really bright, but it's corrugated cardboard's where it's got these little ridges on the inside, because that's what's going to form your little lumps, like your planting rows. So you take a bit of cardboard. I know mine's 20 by 10 centimeters, so measure off on it, and always, it depends what direction you want it to go as well. If you want the corrugations to run that way, like lengthwise, or if you want to go this way or that way, you just got to make sure you look at how they're running in the cardboard. So I want mine to be like multiple shorter rows, so I'm gonna cut my cardboard like this because my corrugations run that way. Yeah, so I know mine's 20 by, you can just easily put your base down and get a rough thing. Take your pen and just go around it. I'm just going to mark using my ruler about 20 centimeters in and 10 centimeters down, because you don't want a perfect square. So there's that, and then 10 centimeters down would be just there. And I'll do another mark over here. And I know that's just sort of like, I don't know how it can show up, but those marks just indicate, I'll make it a bit bigger. So those marks just indicate my perimeter. I can't go beyond that. Because I use square bases, and you can also, if you use rounded bases, you probably won't have to worry about this as much. Because I use squared bases, I like to make the terrain have more of a natural edge, not just a straight line. So I just mark the perimeters, and I just go in and pretty much freehand cut. It doesn't matter if it gets a bit bent or whatever, it's going to be fine. So once you got that, I know that that's going to fit on my base, but it's a bit sort of square for me. So I'm just going to go in and just sort of round the edges off a little bit on the cardboard. Have a look at that in comparison to the base now. You can see that sort of adds a bit of natural flow to it. But yeah, so that's step one. The next step is you just take your hobby knife and you pick either side, and you just go under the edge a little bit, and you just want to, it's kind of hard to demonstrate it with the camera, but you just want to lift the top layer of cardboard. Once you've done that, you just want to try and peel it off. Sometimes it comes off really easy, other times it is a bit annoying. Okay, so once you've done that, it should look a little something like this. You can see the corrugations. They can be a bit stubborn and some bits don't come off. If that's the case, then just take your fingernail or even like the end of a pen and just run it along like that. And any bits that are across will just break down and they'll like flatten out like that. And that doesn't really matter, it's not going to affect the end result, because once you've painted a bit, it'll stick down and it'll cover it. So that's that step. The next step is to just stick this to the base. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my hot glue gun in. The next scene is probably going to be a bit dark while I do that, because I have to plug the hot glue gun into what the light's currently plugged into. But I'll see you when the hot glue gun is warm. Alright, so apologies, this shot's a bit darker than the other shots, but yeah, you may have noticed that this is slightly smaller. I just trimmed a little bit off because I realised that I'm not going to have enough room for the fence that'll go around it later. But yeah, this next bit's really quick and easy. Just flip your thing over. I'm using really old hot glue, so it's a bit crap at the moment, but it still works. What you do is get your hot glue gun and you just want to run a really thin bead. And you've got to do this pretty quick so the glue doesn't dry. And then once you've done that, you just flip it over. Land in the right spot would be nice. And stick it down. And there's a little bit of glue that got out, but that's alright. That should be stuck down pretty well. And yeah, it doesn't really matter like if the edges aren't all perfectly down, like mine are, so it's alright. But if they're not, you can fix this a bit later on with just a little bit of PVA around the outside and a bit of flock or sand. Yeah, that's it for that step. So this next step is making the fence around the outside. I use matchsticks for this, so these are about 5 centimeters ish long. So for me, I need about 4 for the long side and 2 for the short sides, but on one of the long sides you leave a gap of 1 because that's where you're going to put a little gate in. So once you work out how many you need, I'm going to be using 35 sticks. The first thing to do is to put them aside so you know what's what. So once you've got your posts, you want to take your clippers and just halve these. I just do it by eye, but if you want to measure it, you can. It's about 2.5 centimeters. So once you've clipped all them, you want to lay out your bottom row again. And then when you're doing that, take your pen and just mark where the posts are going to be. I have one post there. I have one post. This pen isn't the best for this, but I can see it. There's one there. There'll be one in this corner and one in this corner. I know the corner ones are going to be pretty much straight there because there's not really much room for them to be anywhere else. But for these side ones, I'll need to lay the sticks out. Oh, that one's a bit broken. So then you just look for, so that's going to be the post there. So you look for the overlapping spots. So for this one it's just here, and then just here, and then just here. Okay, apologies again if this shot's a bit dark, but like I said, I need the PowerPoint for the hot glue gun. So with the posts, you want to take the bit that you clipped, you want that to be the top, the bit that you clipped, which is that end on this one, you want that to be the top of your post, because the bit that's machined is going to be flatter, so easy to stick down. And then I've just got my hot glue gun over here with just over a bit of cardboard, and then wipe that excess away. What you do is, all I do is I just get a little blob on the end, and then where you've got your mark, you just stick it down. When you're finished, it should look a little bit like this. Just give it a couple seconds for the glue to dry, then go in and you'll have all these like spindly bits that stick to everything. So just go through and pull them off. They should just come off pretty easily. So once that's done, that's when we're going to start doing the actual crossbars. So again, this is pretty easy. I normally just turn it on the side like that. Bring my hot glue gun a bit closer, if I can, with this cord. Yeah, then I just, so it's going to be very ends, put a little bit of glue on each end. My hot glue gun is not going to stand there very well. And then just stick it to the post. And that's how you do the fence. I don't know how well it's going to show up. But yeah, I'm just going to go around and do the rest of it, and then I'll be back. Alright, so the next step is just get your cheap acrylic paint. I'm just going to squirt a bunch into the bottom of this cup, because I'm going to use that layer as well. This is, get your old brush. And then just, paint the whole thing. And you don't want to just paint the cardboard, this is going to go on everything, the fence, the base, everything. Alrighty, so this is like mostly dry. It's still a bit wet in areas, but it's dry enough for the next step. So I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to the base, and this is a cool way I've started doing it for terrain. Actually just get a bit of my sand, and got that whole paint that's in that cup still, and I just kind of sprinkle a bit of the grit into there. You don't need much, a few pinches, and make sure you're using an old brush. Just mix it around. Probably needs a little bit more than that. Yeah, I don't know how well that would show up on the camera, but you get like a really gritty looking paint. And yeah, you just take that. And we're going to use this just for the plastic card bit. So just take some of that and go around and just paint the plastic card bit, and you'll have texture. Alright, now while that's drying, we can move on to some other stuff. I'm going to go with some flat brown And I'm just going to do a pretty heavy dry brush over the whole field section and also over the fence. So the next step is to go in with a lighter brown. I'm using this beige brown by Vallejo. And this we want to be a little bit lighter with than we were with the darker brown. But we're going to hit the exact same spots. So yeah, that just pretty hard in this light because it's so bright, but that just adds a bit more variation to the ground. And again, I like to go in and do the tops of the woodwork with this as well. So this is mostly dry now, except for the edges, but that's fine. So we're going to go in and add a little bit of flocked for the plants. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use comb foliage and make like little, so it looks like little plants are growing on in your crop. I like to go for a sprouting effect, so I use flock, and it just like, not so much of this piece because it's got, I've put fence on it to be for a larger scale, like 28mm. But just in general, if you're doing these without fences and you build fences separately, which is another way to do it, and you put them around the edges, you can just do this field, and if you do it with flock, it's usable across just about every scale. Because it's just, at small scales it looks like bigger plants, at larger scales it looks like just sprouts. So, as usual, we just get a little bit of glue on some paper towel. Get the good old glue brush out. And you just want to take a bit of glue, not too much, and you go in and you want to hit the ridges. The top of the ridges. Alright, so once you put all your glue on, sometimes you can get more done than other times, depending on how hot it is. But yeah, once you've done that, you just go in and sprinkle your flock over. Now the next step is to go in and pretty much do the same thing, but you want to get all your all around the edges of like the field. So I decided that I'm going to take this a little bit further and just add a couple of little extra bits and bobs to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of static grass to a few spots, and for this, again, you just need your PVA and brush. And I'm only going to add this to a few little spots around the edges, so just in this little corner,